getting paid to lose. We get paid to watch you lose. That's the difference.
I vividly remember a 16-year-old LaMelo Ball playing professional basketball in my home country, Lithuania. He was a kid with flashy passes and viral highlights who at the same time was also playing losing basketball. Fast forward to today and he's still dropping fancy dimes and long-range bombs and still losing games. Now with the Charlotte Hornets, the league's worst team. Let's unpack how he developed this loser mentality that he's stuck with to this day. LaMelo Ball made NBA history as the first player to lead the All-Star fan voting for Eastern Conference guards and still not secure an All-Star spot. Essentially, he didn't get enough respect from the players or the media to make it as a starter. And then he wasn't voted in by the coaches as a reserve either. Now, most players would have taken this as a challenge to prove them wrong, but what he did was the opposite. An abysmal stretch of 8 games where he put up 146 points on 144 shot attempts. That translates to 18.3 points per game, shooting 33.3% from the field and 30% from 3, which is a horrid 46.4 true shooting percentage. 2 particularly brutal nights say it all. 5 points on 1 of 10 shooting in a 53-point blowout to Portland, and 13 points on 3 of 13 in a 42-point beating from Sacramento. When looking for reasons why, you may point to opposing defenses who figured out they can double or even triple team LaMelo without any fear. The Hornets roster is riddled with injuries, and aside from Miles Bridges, no one can create a shot or consistently knock down open looks. Then you can say he's clearly not 100% physically. He's moving like someone trying to protect that nagging ankle injury that's been recurring this season. Combine that with a losing record so terrible it practically screams why bother, and you get a player who looks mentally checked out. But in my eyes, this slump isn't just about a bad roster around LaMelo or his injuries. It is a reflection of deeper issues that he has developed throughout his whole career. He values showmanship over the grind of winning basketball. That's because he's never had the structure or accountability that forces him to refine every aspect of his game. That couldn't be more evident when you look at his defense. For a 6'7" point guard with long arms and quick feet, LaMelo has all the physical ingredients to at least be a respectable defender. Instead, he's often caught gambling for steals, losing focus on rotations, or committing lazy fouls.
And then there's grabbing guys as they're trying to come off of a screen, or just hacking down, or jumping on a pump fake. Like, those are the ones we got to tighten up.
It's not just about missed assignments. It's about reading the floor, communicating, and showing discipline. When other star guards like Ja or Ant made leaps, part of it involved stepping up defensively to set a tone.
Edwards all over him. The fadeaway from Brunson won't go.
In contrast, LaMelo's lacking progress on that side. Another thing is, when we talk about LaMelo, his strength is clearly on offense, right? But here's the thing, LaMelo's offensive efficiency has been underwhelming from day one in the NBA. Across 5 seasons, he's never cracked 45% from the field, which is well below the league's average of roughly 46.7 since 2020. This year, he's hovering around a career worst 40%. Truly a shocking stat for someone with such a diverse offensive arsenal. He's got the range, the floater game, and the dribble creativity, yet can't consistently break the 41% mark. His best field goal percentage so far was 43.6 in his rookie season, where he was attempting the fewest shots in his career at about 13 a game. His 3-point shooting is equally puzzling. He loves pulling up from way downtown, but is connecting at just 33%, which again is well below the league's average. Anthony Edwards, again a comparable young star, also ramped up his 3-point volume but hovers around 40%. LaMelo, on the other hand, remains horrible in terms of efficient shooting. Just look at these numbers. Ball is literally below the league's average in all shooting metrics this season. Field goal percentage, 3-pointers, true shooting, and effective field goal percentage. Whether it's ill-advised shot selection or a refusal to adapt, the result is the same. Lots of cool highlights, but minimal impact on winning. Adding to the frustration is how often LaMelo misses the simpler play. While his court vision is great and he can dish out jaw-dropping passes that no one else sees, he also forces highlight assists that lead to turnovers. The Hornets sit near the bottom in half-court offense, and a chunk of that blame goes on LaMelo's decision-making. It's one thing to stack big assist numbers, but if you also have 3.5 turnovers a night and can't shoot efficiently, your net effect is negative. Now that we know the what, let's explore the why. I truly believe that LaMelo's struggles right now are a result of how his early career unraveled. The seeds were planted at Chino Hills and in AAU circuits. Back then, LaMelo was basically allowed to do whatever he wanted, whether that's pulling up from half court, cherry picking for easy points, or ignoring defensive end altogether. I'm sure most of you remember LaMelo's first viral moment, the 92-point game. Of course, the highlights were kind of ridiculous. He would barely cross half court on defense and was just waiting for outlet passes. Seriously, look it up, it's just these wide open fast break layups for like 10 minutes straight. Anyways, that style made him a social media star but did nothing to teach him the fundamentals of winning basketball. Then in 2018, his next stop was Lithuania. At the age of 16, alongside his brother LiAngelo, he joined a bottom Lithuanian league team, BC Vytautas. Their father, LaMelo Ball, turned a small Lithuanian town of 8,000 people into a subject of a TV reality show. Yet the basketball situation was far from ideal. LaMelo faced grown men who were way less talented but were both more physical and understood the fundamentals of team basketball. Again, if you looked up on YouTube LaMelo Ball Lithuania, you would find a lot of viral highlights of him. Whether that's making 4 threes in a row against a EuroLeague team or scoring a combined 80 points with his brother LiAngelo. But here's the reality. In the top Lithuanian league, LaMelo only played 8 games where he put up 6.5 points, 2.4 assists, and 1.3 turnovers on 26% from the field. Those big scoring outbursts he did have were in exhibition games organized by LaVar, where this Prienai team would play against youth teams. Essentially, once the coach had enough of this chaotic, inefficient playstyle, he just cut his minutes. In response, LaVar organized the Big Baller brand challenge games where LaMelo and LiAngelo could play extended minutes and do anything they like on the court. I feel like I'm repeating myself quite a few times in this video. And as if that wasn't ridiculous enough, eventually LaVar assigned himself to be the head coach of the team. So while in the actual important games LaMelo didn't get to play because of his poor decision making or just because he was 16, he still managed to make viral highlights.
But right now, Dennis Howe just doesn't want to give him an open look.
Oh, and once those games were done, LaVar couldn't handle seeing his sons playing such limited minutes, so he pulled the plug from this whole operation. Rather than grinding through adversity, they bailed as soon as it stopped being fun. The same pattern followed in the Junior Basketball Association, or GBA. That's the LaVar Ball's own basketball league, which was essentially created to promote LaMelo. And to no one's surprise, it folded after a single season. LaMelo averaged a triple-double with 39.6 points, 14.5 rebounds, and 11.5 assists per game. But once again, there was no sense of real competition or accountability. Finally came the stint in Australia's NBL, which was probably LaMelo's most competitive environment prior to the NBA. But even there, it wasn't like the stakes were that high. You could argue that it was actually the safest option for LaMelo, as playing in the NCAA wasn't an option anymore, and even if it was, other prospects would probably have tested him much more than they would if he wasn't that popular. In other words, I don't think he would have had a good time in college. Anyways, he flashed potential there and improved enough to become a lottery pick, but it was still largely about racking up big numbers and flashy plays. In none of these stops, from Chino Hills to Lithuania to the JBA, did LaMelo face a setting where every game mattered and teammates depended on him to lock in on both ends. The result is a player who's all about the personal flair but hasn't truly learned how to win. An indifference to defense, a preference for the flashy over the fundamentally sound, and a history of bailing when adversity hits. His horrible post-All-Star stretch is simply the latest chapter in a career that's prioritized attention over accountability. Instead of getting motivated to prove the doubters wrong, he put up this cryptic message on social media and that's it. So I think LaMelo's approach needs a radical shift. Without embracing discipline, focusing on winning plays and accepting the grind, he'll remain a talented but inefficient star on a bottom-feeding team. Now let me know what you think. Can LaMelo Ball turn his talent into winning basketball? Or are these issues too deeply rooted in his mentality? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe for more NBA takes through an overseas lens, and I'll see you in the next one.